Saudi Cup.
Saudi Cup.
All right. I am in the room today with none other than Ajarn Justin Markus.
Hey, Juice.
How you doing today, good sir?
Good, good. It's good to see you.
You as well. Always is. So, first off, who are you?
Who am I? What a deep question. I am the head instructor for MX Gym up in Duluth, Minnesota, and I am one of the board of instructor members for Living Muay Thai, which is a nationwide educational format for Muay Thai.
That's a snazzy logo right there.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'll recommend you to the guy who, or recommend the guy to you who designed it. Great work.
Awesome. So, real quick question. What inspired you to go into martial arts?
You know, I think as a kid, I was always looking for fun and exciting ways to do the right thing. And I was young when I encountered Star Wars, and I decided at a very early age that I wanted to be a Jedi Knight. I mean, that was it. That was my profession, right? I'm going to do this job. I must have been like 3 years old or 4 years old or something. And I didn't really know how to do that. I tried to find a way. I played with a lot of Legos, built a lot of spaceships. That didn't quite do it. And when I was about 8 or 9 years old, my mom finally came into my bedroom. I was on the floor behind my toy box building a Lego set of some kind. I remember this really clearly. And she said, "Just, do you want to take martial arts?" And I thought, well, let's see. Chuck Norris does martial arts. He's pretty dangerous.
It's true.
But I think Jedi probably also have to do martial arts. So I said, "Yeah, Mom, I can get closer to my goal of being a Jedi Knight if I join martial arts." And so that was the day it finally all started for me.
I mean, martial arts are a prerequisite to Jedi.
You feel like, for all that they say they're not a bunch of fighters, I feel like martial art is a part of their race. They're a warrior group, right? So yeah, I was in on that.
Absolutely. The fun story, when I was all of 2 years old, I was actually at the original Star Wars movie in the theaters.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I missed that one. I was only a year old at the time, so no one was taking me, but I jumped on the bandwagon pretty fast.
Apparently, I cried when R2-D2 got shot.
Well, who wouldn't, right? R2-D2, as much of a jerk as he is probably the most adorable character, if that's the right word for a trash can that everybody loves.
And feisty.
Feisty for sure, yeah.
So who was your first instructor then? And what was your first art?
So my first art, I think like most of us back in the 80s, we're talking like 1985 or some such. Like most of us, I got into Taekwondo first. We had a lot of guys that had come back from Korea who were now able to, in this era, have high rank in Taekwondo, and they were starting to pop up in I think the 70s and 80s. And so my first instructor was actually an old friend of my mom's back in the day from high school or something, and he was out in a little neighborhood a couple miles away, and that's pretty much the whole story. I did that for a little while. I did get into a bit of trouble even young. I knew Muay Thai was the right place for me because I kept asking, why can't I kick people in the leg? Why can't I knee them in the face? I'm 9 and 10 years old. I must have been a terror for my teachers.
Yeah, it's like, it works in the playground.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can jump off the top rung of the monkey bars and knee a little kid in the face. I never did try that. In retrospect, I could have gotten away with it rather than waiting till now when I go to jail.
Okay, that's awesome. That's fun. So Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, both. I love Star Trek to an extent that is indescribable. I think it was very formative for me. I find that being raised, seeing a lot of ethical questions on a daily basis, and a lot of different people types on screen working together. I think that's something that no other science fiction in history has ever built into the fabric of great storytelling. So definitely Star Wars and Star Trek. Star Wars is a little bit more of a religion, isn't it? And Star
Yes.
Trek's a little bit more of an ethical human development sort of pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. So then what progressed you into learning Muay Thai?
It was the first thing I did the minute I had the chance. I mean, I'm like, let me into this. I remember when I was probably even just 11 years old. I the 80s, I sometimes feel like a newcomer to martial art, which is funny just because we hang around and see guys like Ajarn Chai or we run into Guru Dan at camps and we hear stories. But really we were at the tail end of their inception era, right? Is that's when I came into all this. So some of the things they talked about still happened and some of them were almost done happening, right? And I remember I learned some Wing Chun a fair amount. I know I'm no master of Wing Chun by any measure, but I remember I loved the idea of what do I do when I make contact. And I was 11 years old and I had my ear to the ground looking for people who taught Wing Chun. And eventually I started hearing back just out of, so I don't know how I did this at that age, but so and so's coming through town and he's going to be at this gym somewhere with a friend of his who takes karate. I think he does Wing Chun. And so I'd run in and I would do show me the first movement, show me the second movement. I'd work on that and somebody else would come by. I'm like, I learned the first two movements, correct them for me and give me the third one. And that was kind of how martial art went, right? And I'd heard about Muay Thai when I was probably maybe 11 years old. Somebody's like, this is the hardest martial art. Funny thing, it's not necessarily the hardest art. It's so soft, right? But then it has hard impacts. But somebody said you need Muay Thai. You keep hurting people by kneeing them in the stomach and trying to elbow them in the head. And I think this is just not the place for you. Karate's not the place for you. and in Duluth, Minnesota, northern Minnesota, we didn't have Muay Thai. It wasn't available at all. So I didn't get to start studying Muay Thai properly until I was, I think, just at the end of being 17. But I was looking for it. I was out on the prowl for it. And I did study and learn and adapt as much of it as I could from no internet sources because guess what? I didn't see the internet till I was 18 years old. So we were boots in the ground finding people who knew anything.
Yeah. So then how did you initially come into contact with it?
With Muay Thai, there was a guy that roved his way through one of the gyms that was true, one of the schools. I believe karate places call themselves schools. That I was training at the time, and he says, "Yeah, I know a little Muay Thai." And so when I was 17, I did a couple of bits of what was probably a Westerner's best interpretation of what Muay Thai was. And then at 18, I went down to Minneapolis. Actually, it was in St. Paul when I went down to Hamlin for my original spree of college learning. And I went to a place called Eastside Thai Boxing. I don't think it's there now, but there was a gym there, and I started studying more traditional Muay Thai and boxing there quite a bit, actually.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very cool. So from that point forward, because you've been in Muay Thai a long time now.
a little bit.
So what got you from the point you are now from that point?
What got me at juice? That is, you just asked about a lifetime. That's, I think, for any of us guys. Once you're over 40 and you've been training since you were a certain age, 20, 30 years, stories get long, but no,
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest things about this journey for me is that when I was younger and I started out, my perspectives, my needs were very different. I was teaching at like 12 in the karate school, and I was very fortunate to be able to start teaching very young. But when I was 18, I didn't want to be a teacher per se. I didn't mind sharing information. I didn't mind teaching in a classroom. I guess I didn't think of that as teaching at the time. But I remember thinking, geez, I don't want to be a teacher. I think I still want to be I think I still today want to be a Jedi Knight, right? Maybe
We
minus some of the challenges they had during the prequel series, but yeah, I didn't want to teach. There was things I did and didn't want that are very different from what I want now. And so obviously there's a journey from I'm going to study the art I'm going to master my body. I'm going to learn the skills I need to protect other people, to protect myself, which was strangely less important to me at the time. It was just more about, can I become someone who can contribute to society in a way that is that's like a warrior, that's protecting, that's, use all of my wisdom. It was a different place. I still want to use all of that knowledge that I've gained over the years to help, but
Yeah.
I think it's different. I spent a lot of my time training martial art, like many of us. I would train in multiple martial arts, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'd
Hmm.
work. I worked in the mornings at 3 a.m. And that started shortly after I came back from the 2 years in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I would just train martial art and do research all day. And I did that for, 7 days a week. I don't think I took a day off ever. If I wasn't training martial art, I was up in the hills climbing things and or running a mountaineering shop or jumping off of something or just whatever. So I think a lot of injuries, a lot of learning about relationships with people in the training and how martial art affects ourselves, how it affects others. It just sort of slowly changed into me over the next 10 years. It changed into, I want to teach, I want to convey knowledge, I want to know everything I can know so that I can describe this art. And I think in my mid 30s, after there was a long stretch where we used to train 12 hours a day, 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. I don't recommend that. I loved it, but I don't recommend that for everybody. But there was a long stretch where that was at the end of where I finally said, I'm doing so much because I want to learn the art. There's something I don't know. And I was a little frustrated after a couple of decades of training martial art that there was some piece I couldn't feel, I couldn't see. And so I threw myself all into Muay Thai at that point. I don't overtly train other arts in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years. I felt like I had to look into Muay Thai to see what was living in all the arts as opposed to trying to find it across them as much for a while. And I think that I did find those things for me, in that time frame. That was a big part of the journey also, right? It comes in stages. So I think that's kind of how I got here was without the fine details. How I got here was learning from my relationships, learning from mistakes, training until I realized training alone doesn't bring you to mastery. Asking questions, exploring other arts, not even training other arts, but listening to those who teach them and ask them what makes their art work. A lot, a lot. Training a little bit less. Nowadays I only train like 3 to 5 hours a day. I don't do what I used to do. I'll take a day off once in a while, though rarely, but I will do that. And I found greater value and a greater ability to connect to the art and have a relationship with the art and to the people that are really, without people, there's no reason to even do this, right?
Yeah. Speaking of people, you've have a very loyal group of students that you've brought through quite a journey. In fact, several of them have fought in national tournaments.
Yeah, no, there were, looking back, I gaze off in the distance when I think about the past sometimes. I think we all do, but looking back, two things I didn't want to do when I was 12 years old. One was teach. Certainly when I was 8, I wasn't thinking about teaching, or 9, I wasn't thinking about teaching. But when I was 12, I remember consciously thinking I don't want to teach, and if I do teach, I never want to work with people who have disabilities. And I think maybe that was fear. I think you even get a sense, even as a kid, that that's a lot of responsibility, right? And maybe I revered teaching to a degree that I didn't want to be bound to it.
Mhm.
And so maybe it wasn't that I didn't want to teach; it was that I didn't understand the responsibility and how it would empower someone. I thought maybe it was just sacrifice. Um, but a lot of my students have been people that will be identified over the years with disabilities. A surprisingly disproportionate number, right? And we have a theory on disability in MXGM in my teaching protocols that it doesn't exist until the disability level meets the requisite task, right? So I wound up spending a lot of years. Dan Martirano, you guys, a lot of you guys know him. He's been with me in a number of places around the country. He has a disability if we push him in ways that it manifests. He's got one fake leg and missing a lot of bones. And we had to train him for his instructor test. And we did train him very different. But he trained well and he tested well. And he did just fine with no. I remember, speaking of Pete, I remember when Ajarn Pete kicked him and left a giant red footprint on his back during the test. So for me, the journey has really been a little different than for others. Maybe I really did sink into, can I work with people who are autistic? Can I work with people who are missing fingers, limbs, have joint problems, have a lot of psychological issues, trauma from the past, just things that make us have a hard time? Can we create an environment where all humans? I was taking a graduate course a couple of years ago, and one of the courses said something like 20% of students have trauma or disabilities. And I almost swallowed my tongue. I was just so shocked. It wasn't that there were so many, it's that they had recorded so few. I don't think I've ever met a person, a human being, that isn't affected by a traumatic experience in a way that actually changes the course of every single day. And so with my students, I was forced to look at that in a more blatant way due to the nature of the people that were coming to me. And yeah, I think that has colored a lot of what I've done and how I've done it over the years. And a lot of them have competed, and a lot of people that were told would never function normally in society. I had one guy, he took a belt at a tournament, and one of the national tournaments, and other people have been instructors, and it's been amazing for me on this journey. Yeah. So I do have a small dedicated student body. The gym, it's in Duluth, Minnesota. I don't do a lot of marketing. We keep it pretty small. We keep it down to about 20 students. And I'd like to get bigger now. I think it's time for me to start growing. I just am not very good at marketing, but it is probably time to start growing now for a lot of reasons. But it's an experimental laboratory for me, right? I test how do I train someone who has X, Y, or Z development in their life that makes things a little bit trickier when they encounter A, B, and C. And how can I change that interface so that they can be equally effective? Or what teaching protocols, what tools, what style of technique? I use it as a petri dish for Muay Thai technique, Muay Thai teaching, engagement with various types of individuals, cultural training, things like that. So yeah, it's been everything I've ever wanted. And now it's time to build more in life. I think every day we do that, right?
That's right.
Does that answer your question?
I think so. I think so. So is in your personal teaching style, are you emulating like one of your favorite teachers as you teach? Who
This
best
is
did
a good
you?
question. You mean like is there somebody that I've picked stuff up from that I use, like tools, tricks, or mannerisms that I might use when teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think all of us who have studied with the Ajarn Chai teach a little bit like him. I have to say that just outright. People come up to me all the time and they say, you sound like Ajarn Chai sometimes. I even say things in like that Thai English mix once in a while that he uses, just
Yeah.
because that's how I heard it every time I heard it over the years. One of the big ones is, you got it? You got, I mean, how many of us say you got it? He
Right.
says you got it all the time. So yeah, I think some of the little mannerisms and word uses and timings might for sure for don't not might but for sure come from that man. Ajarn Chai has definitely colored how we do things. Uh, a lot of how I teach in the last handful of years, though, back in 2017, I started 2016. I started a strong pursuit of developing as a teacher. See, there's a difference between an instructor and a teacher, and it's subtle. A coach, right? A coach is different also. And I think we should all be coaches. We should all be instructors. Instructors instruct, right? We should also all be teachers or educators. I think this is important for us. And so it was probably back in the maybe 2015, even I think 2015 realistically, when I really just put my feet to the ground and I said, we need to figure out not just how to be good at martial art, because we're martial arts teachers, right? But how to be a good teacher also. So I've put together some manuals on teaching tools, tricks, educational psychology. I wound up going back to grad school for my master's of science in education and instruction. And I started just reapplying layers and layers of scientifically proven teaching tools that engage students and make the classroom learning much better. How to increase meaning for our students so that they want to learn. Currently, I'm working on my doctorate of education, and this is all on a journey to build a proper curriculum, to build delivery systems that are highest impact for the least effort, so we can spend more time building relationships with our students, and developing an instructor and teacher education protocol that takes us beyond just coaches and takes us beyond just running a mechanical classroom, demo and leave, or demo and walk away. The standard martial style, right? I'm working on a lot of scientifically backed protocols for martial educators on that. So I think that's been a big that and Ajarn Shai have been huge influences, I think, in where I'm at right now.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that has to both be handy and come into play with Living Muay Thai then. So
Oh,
because that's a newer investment in your life over the last several years.
mm. Living Muay Thai, which you know a little bit about, I think.
A little bit.
Living Muay Thai is it's where I wish I'd always been. That's what it is. You know, it's a handful of educators that came together through the WTBA. We're a part of the WTBA, right? That's our family.
Yeah.
But it's a handful of educators who came together because we wanted to have an ongoing, regular relationship. For me, martial art is about relationship. It's important. It's got a few tent poles, right? And one of them is community. So I wanted a place where I could discuss with my fellow educators, and where I could know who was going to be available and when, and people that I regularly had contact with. I think I talk to 10 or 11 different instructors around the country right now. And this is just from like our core group, not even just the people that we reach out to and share with on a regular basis. But I think I talked to 10 or 11 different instructors now from around the world, even on a weekly or bi-week, or twice a month is bi-weekly. I forget how that goes.
That's right.
Whatever it is, a weekly or every other week basis. And that has changed my teaching also. That's been an influence, as per your last question. So for me, a part of Living Muay Thai was bringing people together. And then, I like a more academic environment. I want us to train hard. I want us to study hard, but I want us to have scientifically proven teaching tools.
Yes.
And LMT brings that to the board. I want us to have a common language in the art. And so where a lot of people don't care about that stuff as much, it doesn't matter as much to them. They do other aspects. The things that I wish I had growing up, I wish someone could have said to me, hey, kid, there's 7 timings that you can use in combat. Here's when they are. Here's all the broken down tiers. Let's train them effectively so at every tier you understand them, so that when you're 47 years old, you have it ingrained into your body to use those timings to attack. I would have loved that. I didn't get that until I spent years trying to figure out what those things were. And that's only been, 10 years or whatever number of years it's been since I started to fall into these pieces. Maybe falling is the wrong word, but that's what Living Muay Thai is to me. It is the playground of martial art that I wish I had when I was coming up in the arts. And so, we offer that to those who want that specific kind of development.
So you're saying it has different teaching tracks or learning tracks on depending on which side you're on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, again, there's coaches, there's instructors, there's teachers. That's already, a lot of people just coach in the gym. That's cool. That's a way to do it. A lot of people just instruct. That's a great way to do it. A lot of people want to teach. I don't think as many want to teach, but a lot of people do want to teach. I think a lot of students on the other side of it come in and they want to be fighters. Good. They want to be teachers. Good. They want to just, getting in shape only. I have some debate about whether people come to martial art just for that, because you could just take step aerobics, not go into a gym where someone's going to punch you in the head, right? So I think even when you come in wanting to get in shape, you want to get in shape and learn an art form, and probably an art form that involves getting punched in the head. So
yeah.
No, yeah, there are many tracks that can exist in our path, and LMT, it's built to allow people to follow as many of those as possible, rather than being prescribed so much by just an educational classroom environment or by a coaching environment. So yeah, Living Muay Thai lets you follow a lot of different tracks in very effective ways without losing the core of the art.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
it's going through and as I understand it, it's going through quite a growth at this moment.
Yeah, no, we've got the Living Muay Thai Summit happening. It's a traveling annual camp. We're actually doing our third one this year down in Lauderhill, Florida, which is apparently near or part of Fort Lauderdale. I'm not as familiar, but I heard the word Lauder and I'm like, Dave Gomez, what is this? He goes, it's just Lauderdale, which you're familiar with for spring break. So I'm rolling with that. But yeah, we do a camp. I like the way the camp runs. For me, it's 1 hour classes, condensed material. It's like a month of curriculum in 1 hour. And each instructor comes along. We have 7, 8 classes a day. And boom, boom, boom. And if you don't want to take a class, it's a summit. It's not like going to a training camp. You can sit down and take notes. You can train in the class and work really hard all day, which is an option. It gives you the opportunity to say, I actually am full of information. I might review the footage later. I can't do this. And so people get many ways to approach the summit, and it's kind of fun. We also have a curriculum we're working on, which we're going to unveil the minimum viable product version of that at the summit this year in about a week and a half. Actually, it's a week now. We'll be there training in 7 days.
Yeah,
And
fantastic.
yeah, it's so soon. Things come so quick. So we'll unveil the curriculum there and talk about some of the flexible ways in which we deliver that. So it has opportunity for students. And I think that's going to be really important for the people that want that kind of a thing. I think that'll be life-changing for those who want it. So yeah, Living Muay Thai, it's definitely making its mark, and it will be relevant to those who are looking for more, I think, than just a coaching environment or even just an instructional environment.
Yeah, sounds like it's a little bit next level. So there's randomized Muay Thai programs around the world, but very few of them go in depth into teaching methodology. So yeah, so that definitely sounds quite beneficial.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. Again, it's not there to compete with other really great programs. It's there to accent them. It's something that just isn't present. There's some really good, for example, really good coaching programs out there. There's one that's fallen into my hands. I know that Ajarn Greg Nelson has a fantastic coaching program at his gym. There's a lot of really great class management by the bullet points programs out there, and that is really effective. If your goal lives in that sphere, that is really effective material, I believe. I can't, for me, I can't live in that sphere as much. A little bit, like we all live there a little bit. My
Yeah,
sphere's over here, just kind of turn it over like 3/4. And that's, so for people who live in that sphere, we can give them that. Or for people who live in a more of a educational environment, academic thinking, that's a different type of school. And that's something that we definitely want to offer to those who want to build that kind of a gym environment.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So there's
so
stuff
it's
out there, but not enough to cover everybody's needs.
yeah. So is Living Muay Thai more geared towards the beginner, the teacher, or the advanced? Is there a particular subject or audience that's geared towards?
That's a good question. And I might have accidentally answered it a couple of times, but I'm going to try to sum it up and tie it together. What I like inclusivity. That's important to me. I think inclusivity allows for teamwork, team building. I spoke with a prominent educator who's very gifted, very brilliant, and his philosophy is, if maybe Muay Thai is not for everybody. And what I hear when he said that was, I want to teach certain people or coach certain people. That's what I want to do, and they can access Muay Thai through me if that's this swath of who they are. That's got to be inclusive to some extent, right? There's degrees of inclusivity, but it isn't inclusive of a lot. It's inclusive of a certain category. I believe that every gym, because there's so many martial arts gyms out there, they do have a right to choose who they feel they can live doing this underpaid job with, right? So you can certainly pick and choose the types of people. I would always be careful not to say Muay Thai is not for everybody. I would turn it back on the instructor and say, teaching Muay Thai to everybody is not for me. So that's a language that I think we should be using instead. But there's no crime in this fantastic coach's statement. I think it's just the way it was said didn't acknowledge who it was that had the limitations. It wasn't the people, it was the coach, and that is fine. I have limitations also. There's people I don't feel I'm comfortable working with because I'm not the best person for them, and so we do have some limitations. But as far as inclusivity, I want to see that we can create gyms that do include as many people as possible, even those that I don't necessarily feel comfortable teaching. I want to learn to teach them in a way that's best for them and gives them what they need. For me, students who come in the gym and just want to hit the pads all day, that's not my thing. That's even when I was training hard, that wasn't me. So giving that over to somebody who does that is giving the art. For me, it takes away from my love of the art. So trying to figure out how can I be more inclusive and include. They're not super common, but we all get one. Every 20 people in walks somebody who just wants to cardio junkie on the pads, and that's an okay way to do it. It's just not my preferred way to teach people, right?
Yeah.
So Living Muay Thai, I think, even if it's not for everyone right now, even if it isn't yet, we are trying to build all the systems out so that anybody can walk in the gym and anybody can get from the instructors. The instructors are capable of giving deep meaning to someone who hits the pads and doesn't want to stop and discuss how the technique is done. All right. But also that same classroom can find a way to give information that digs into the secret mysteries of Muay Thai for the students who academically want to understand what they're doing. So yeah, I think Living Muay Thai is building towards a high level of inclusion for a lot of different people.
Okay. Where would people go to learn more about that?
Right now, we have a limited website up at livingmuaythai.com. And I think that will be a good spot to find information on the summit right now, which we'll be rebooting for next year after this. And we'll throw some videos up from this year and whatnot. You can see some of us at Instagram, which I am not familiar with social media, but we do have people on the team who are doing the social media. So we have Living Muay Thai on Instagram, and there's usually a post and a little thing about what we're up to and what we're doing. And of course, people can get on our mailing list if they contact any one of the instructors. It'll get back to our mailing list. But anybody with questions can always email me at justin@livingmuaythai.org, and I'm certainly happy to develop that. Some of our background teaching protocols, some of our curriculum, some of our materials are far more advanced than our web technology right now is. So we aren't as present online as I guess we should be. But in the background, we have a lot of tools that are developed and moving into place. So again, if anybody wanted to know about that, well, we try to figure out how to build a website. That's they can just ask the old fashioned email way or give me a call or whatever it is, and we can certainly hash out and put ideas into that.
Well, the progress sounds phenomenal. I mean, it's only a couple years in the making, and most businesses fail within the first 3. So it sounds like it's already well on its way.
Yeah, no, it's hard to fail when you've got a team of people who just want to build, and we're doing what we love. So I feel pretty good about it.
Awesome. Well, is there any last thoughts that you'd like to dish out?
No, Juice, this has been fun just chatting, and I don't usually get a chance to just answer questions. A lot of times discussion is measured, and that's important. We should always go back and forth. So it's weird a little bit for me to have you say, tell me about this and don't stop till you're done. It's fun, but I like interacting back and forth a little bit more. So I hope I have given you the information that you've wanted.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a fantastic interview. Thank you for all the information you gave us. This will be our next newsletter. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it and hearing more from you.
All right. Well, Juice, if there's anything you ever need, you just have to ask. And I do appreciate the time to ramble off and reflect on the journey that it took to get us to get me to where I'm at, and maybe to get our relationship to where it's been building up to for 18 years. And it's pretty
Absolutely. Fun. Well, thank you so much. Sawadee Cup.
Sawadee Cup, Cup and Cup.